Hey everybody, it's Josh Ronquist here for Heavy Debriefings, and I can't believe we're already done with 5 months of the year. Well, pretty much. It's the top 10 albums of May 2023, which if you're checking out this video, you should know that the top 10 albums of the first half of 2023 will be coming up next week. More details to follow at the end of the video. But until then, let's get into these top 10 albums of May 2023. First up, I have Arrival of Autumn with Kingdom Undone. And I'm thoroughly impressed with this Canadian metal band. They combine great elements of metalcore, thrash metal, and progressive metal, and little hints and nuances of other styles as well, that really form together, and it shows that you can blend all these different styles together and create your own sound. While it still sounds very familiar, if you're looking for thrash, it's here. If you're looking for prog, it's here. If you're looking for metalcore, it's here. If you're looking for death metal, it's here. It's got a little bit of everything. And when you make music like that, it's very adaptable because you're able to tour with so many great bands, and the band has already done that so far in their young career. And I'm very excited to see where the band's going to be going from here on out, because if this is what you're doing on your first major label album, I can't wait to see what's next. Up next is Battleborn with Blood, Fire, Magic, and Steel. Is this a play off of Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic? Maybe. But seriously, this debut album is absolutely mind-blowing with what they're able to accomplish. Heavy power metal with Skyrim themes. If that's not appealing to you, then this is not a band for you. You just don't like fun. But no, seriously, it is a great, fun album. It has a lot of great lore that's related to Skyrim, and you don't even have to be an Elder Scrolls fan to be able to appreciate the music. It is well orchestrated, awesomely produced, and well played by everyone in the band. It just sounds strong and heavy, and it really is a great atmosphere, and I feel like I should go back and play Skyrim and have this on in the background. I mean, what have I got to lose? But if this sounds like fun to you, if you want to hear a Skyrim metal power band, this band, Battleborn, is all that you need. Up next, we got Cattle Decapitation with Terracite, the very first concept album from the band, and wouldn't you guess it, after pretty much predicting what would happen immediately after their previous album with the song Bring Back the Plague, well, they happen to do that. We'll see if that happens here with Terracite, which is basically about, in the dumbest slash smart way to be able to describe the entire album, space ants destroying the world. And who knows, that might be just a few months away. But seriously, this album could be my favorite Cattle Decapitation album, and depending on what era you love of the band, like the very early day gore grind that is almost incomprehensible, to the more death grind style, to the more progressive death metal, death grind, brutal death metal that they're doing right now, it's got a little bit of everything going on here, but with the one exception from the previous albums, it has a killer production. Otherwise, it has a little taste of everything. Of course, it is leaning much, much heavier on what the band has been doing the last several years, but it also turns things up a notch in form of brutality. I think part of that might have to do with the combination of a newer lineup slash better production. When you combine all of that slash writing a concept album about the end of the world, it all forms together to the perfect soundtrack to the apocalypse, this side of a Null Nathrak. But yeah, if you love the later Cattle Decapitation albums, this might be their best album that they've done. If you like their earlier work, this will probably not win you over, but I still feel like you should give it a chance. Coming up next is one of my favorite albums of 2023 so far. This is easily going to be in my top 10 albums of the year, and it might even be higher than what I'm expecting. It could be album of the year. The debut album from Death of Giants with Ventusorg. Of course, it is Finnish funeral doom metal, gothic metal, death doom, a little bit of progressive metal going on as well, and slight tinges of black metal going on. This is a concept album of the main songwriter losing his wife to cancer, from noticing she's sick to her dying moments, and everything in between. It is the heartache that came from him, his struggles of carrying on, what to do with his life with her while she's still around, and watching the love of his life die. So yeah, not the cheeriest album, not the feel-good hit of the summer, but it is one of the most cathartic albums I've heard probably since Woods 5. And wouldn't you know it, there's a lot of elements of Woods of Ypres in here. And I also hear a lot of Draconian, I hear Paradise Lost, and I hear a lot of tinges and callbacks to Devin Townsend, especially vocally. I think that he just kind of hits some of the same range in some moments. And all of that combined just makes for an epic masterpiece of a debut album that just destroys you in the best way possible. And if you've ever lost anyone, this might be an album that you need to be able to help break through the emotions of grief if you are still struggling. Up next, we have Enforcer with Nostalgia. Yeah, I can't sing like him. I never will be able to. But it is the latest album from the Swedish outfit, and there's an argument that this is the best album that they made, because it almost feels like a greatest hits album of all brand new material. And they also still expand upon their sound while still staying true to who they are. By that I mean, like, the fast songs are super fast, the ballads are super strong, super epic feeling, and the mid-tempo songs are just great stadium rock anthems. It's everything that you love about the revival metal scene. They have that classic heavy metal and speed metal production style that I love so much. You can tell that this band really wants to make sure that every note that they play is heard, and they play every single note. Which, you know, a lot of bands don't do that these days, but that's a different video for a different time. I probably should make that video. But with Enforcer, they are the kind of band that I wouldn't want them to be modern. I don't want them to have modern production. I want them to be the throwback style that they are, because it really showcases the talent of everyone in the band, and those incredible soaring vocals. If you haven't checked out Enforcer yet, and you love that old 70s, 80s, early 90s heavy metal, speed metal, you need to check out this revival band. You need to check out Enforcer. Oh, hey, what happened in the background? Well, actually, I'm recording this part after I got done with the whole video because I received an album before it came out, technically today as you're checking this out, the brand new album from Metal Church, Congregation of Annihilation. And this is a brand new chapter in the band's discography, mainly because this is the first album with new vocalist Mark Lopez, and he does a magnificent job of being able to show off his entire range. Of course, he can hit so much more. He's kind of like Stu Block from Into Eternity, where he can do deep growls, he can do great high falsettos, but with Metal Church, it's mainly more of the latter, and it fits so perfectly well. And the music, while not having necessarily the ballads that I love so much from Metal Church, which I think is their strongest point, this album is full of fueled fire. There's a lot of great speedy, thrashy moments throughout here, some great near power metal moments going on as well too, while also being able to go back on a couple songs and kind of have that sleazy 80s cock rock feel behind it, all while still sounding like Metal Church. And especially for a band that's been around as long as they have, nearly 4 decades now, and the fact that they're able to put out this kind of material that pretty much crushes any other band that's been around as long as they have, especially for bands who have put out albums this year, yeah, I'll go ahead and say that. This is one of the finest albums in the Metal Church discography, and it's great to see them so reinvigorated, and I can't wait to see what's coming next. Now back to the rest of the video. Coming up next is Mystic Prophecy with Hell Riot. This is the band's 12th album, and sad for me to say, this is the very first time I've ever checked out the band. I've always heard of them, always heard people talk about them, but they were a band that always slipped my mind. This time around, I made sure to actually check them out, and I love what I hear. If this is considered the band's worst album, then I need to check out the other 11 albums immediately, because this thing rules. I can understand how it can be a little repetitive in the choruses, because whenever it is a song title, you will know it's the song title, but to me, that's catchy. That's something that you can make it memorable. And when you do it just right, like Mystic Prophecy does, it does not matter. The songs are super heavy, they have some great guitar solos when needed, lots and lots of double bass, which I really appreciate in my power metal. And they throw in some speed and thrash as well, and it's so cool to be able to hear their take on all of it. Again, this could be them treading water, this could be their worst album, and if it is, like I said, I need to go back and check everything else. If you love heavy power metal with very raspy vocals, kind of that Jorn Lande style that I love so much, this is a band that you need to check out immediately. Unless you already know them and I'm one of the last people around who enjoys the style that has actually heard them, then shame on me. Up next is Nightmare with Deformity Adrift, the sophomore album from this band, and I am so glad to see this album has seen the light of day. Through various lineup changes, the sophomore album is finally here, and it is one of the most sadistic, brutal albums you are going to hear this year. Filled with tech death, brutality, avant-garde moments, it feels like nightmares. Well, yeah, I'll say it. Pun intended. It feels like nightmares. It is terroristic, it is scary at moments, and it's exactly what you need in this style. If you're looking for other examples of what could this possibly sound like to me, imagine a band like Bluntas Nord or Portal, like I put in the For Fans Of section right there. Yeah, just the bands that create absolute chaos, and not necessarily catchy moments like in a band like Anal Nathrak, but this music doesn't really call for poppy catchy moments. It calls for sheer terror, and it's so good for that reason. It's the kind of album that you need to be able to get all of your aggression out, get all your fear out, and let it portray through the music. That's how I felt about their debut album, and now with this new lineup featuring one of the most underrated guitarists of the modern day, Keith Merrow, now on guitar, being able to show off his technical shred abilities. It just makes this album even more dynamic. For the extreme of extreme metal, this is a band that you need to check out immediately. Coming up next is a band that I deeply apologize if I'm pronouncing the band name wrong, Oriyad, with Sacred and Profane. This is a band I just discovered tonight as I'm recording this, and I absolutely love what I'm hearing. It blew my mind. I love the style of symphonic metal, progressive doom, and opera, all formed together to create a sound that is just that dark, evil tinge that I kinda need right now. It just really fits the mold. It gets a little avant-garde, a little progressive, a little off the wall, but when it gets into it, it really gets into it. And I love those little quirks, but the main core sound of what they do is their selling point. I think this is a fantastic debut album, and the fact that it's just a two-person band with some guest musicians that were able to fill out the rest of it is just incredible to me. Seeing what just two people can do and being able to fill out the rest with guest slots to be able to create the vision that they're looking for. If this is just their debut album, their sophomore album, I think is going to be the band that skyrockets them in the symphonic metal, progressive metal, doom metal, opera metal world. And if this sounds intriguing to you, I highly recommend giving this a shot. Coming up next is Thulkondra with Hail the Abyss, the brand new album, and I've got to talk to Stefan about this and some new material on the rise for both Thulkondra and Obscura coming up in the near future. Wink wink, nudge nudge. But this brand new album, I feel, is a little bit of a departure for the band. I think they're exploring a little bit new territory, what's going on here, and I think that's absolutely for the best. I love what they're doing here. I'm not sure where it ranks yet for my personal taste, but I do love the fact that this album just sounds completely solid from start to finish, whether it's doing something slower, whether it's doing something more mid-tempo, or it's hitting those great melodic black metal, black and death metal sounds that they are known for. Honestly, I don't really hear the death metal sound in Thulkondra. I know it's in their press release, I know people say it otherwise, but I just hear the black metal elements. To me, they sound like Dissection without the, let's say, outside Problems. Just look up dissection on Wikipedia. That's more than enough to let you know what I'm talking about when it comes to problems. But thankfully, Stefan and Company does not have anything like that. You can just enjoy the music without feeling guilty. Thulkondra is one of my favorite melodic black metal bands. They have that great 90s second wave black metal sound with way better production value, done perfectly master-wise by Dan Swano. Thank you for being the god of mastering. And this album, I think, is a great starting point for the band if you've never checked them out before. If you like what you hear, check out the previous material. It's a lot more focused on that 90s black metal sound. This is a little more different, but I think it might be something to capture you if you're into this particular style. And finally, we have Wintersea with Woven into Ashes, the third album from this Oregon band, and this is easily by far the best album that they've put out so far. They refine their sound so perfectly. It is so well crafted and so well played. Everything about this album is simply astounding, from the soaring vocals to the extreme vocals, the musicianship from everyone in the band, and the changes that just turn on a dime, but just hit so perfectly. If you want a better description of what it sounds like, with also being kind of wrong about it, but might get you the right idea of what it is, think Neovlascaris without the violin and more black metal. And that is Wintersea. To me, that is a recipe that just works so perfectly. And if you like that extreme progressive metal, progressive black metal, some progressive death metal, but much more black metal than anything else, and absolutely soaring clean vocals and some of the most extreme black metal vocals you will hear, you definitely need to give Wintersea a chance. This band just got done touring with Moonspell of all bands, and their notoriety is just growing and growing, and I really hope that continues, because this is a band that deserves all the love and attention that it's been receiving and everything more. And that's it. That's my top 10 albums of May 2023 in alphabetical order. What do you think? Did you like the list? Did you not like it? Did I miss some albums? I know I did. I can think of 2 albums coming out on Friday that I won't get to hear until the day of. That's the Breaks, Little Man. Break it down. Do you want to crap at me for my own personal opinion or anything else? Just leave a comment down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And please do all of that, especially subscribe and like, because I want to reach as many people as possible that are interested in what I do. And if you like what I do, just do those couple things. That's all I need. Thank you. And next week, I'll be doing my top 10 albums of the first half of 2023. The way that I do things as a music journalist and everything else that I do music related, the first half of the year is different than the calendar year. It is January through May. Second half is June through November. I don't do a top albums of the second half of the year because that's treading water, as right at the end of November, I do my top 100 albums of the year, which starts at the Monday after Black Friday and then goes on into the following week. 2 weeks, 10 albums a day, 100 albums. Hope that's clear, but we'll get to that bridge when we cross it. But until then, or until my next interview, review, top 10 list, or any other kind of video that I make here on the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel. For Heavy Debriefings, this is Josh Runquist saying, see ya.